We're all familiar with the saying that it's better to give than to receive. What does better really mean? Well, we know that giving is good for our soul, and now science shows that it benefits us emotionally and physiologically. What's most important for our health is the spirit in which we give and receive. Giving stimulates the hormone, the love hormone, oxytocin. So tell us about oxytocin.
It's a hormone that's made by the posterior pituitary that's secreted at times when, like for example, when the mother is first suckling a newborn. And that's what seems to be the important part of what causes the bonding to occur between the two. It also has other effects that are very interesting. It's a powerful antioxidant. It's something that works as an antidepressant. It works for wound healing, and it's important in relaxing and bonding. So it's the biochemistry that we're looking at in this study that kind of dictates to us that we're having an effect that's related to it.
Well, let's talk about the oxytocin study where they gave money to two groups and what happened with the group that were given the oxytocin.
Right. Well, that group gave more, and it's interesting because they gave 48% more than the other group did. And it again, it's the effect. It's the biochemical effect on the brain that causes physiological changes that explain what happened.
Well, I think if somebody were tight, it might be a good idea to slip them some oxytocin to make them more generous.
Take it to your banker.
Yeah,
right when
right.
you're looking for a loan, and maybe he'll be more generous at that time.
So what do MRIs show?
Well, that's interesting because MRIs show the activity of the brain, and when you give oxytocin, it lights up the dopamine centers, and the dopamine is a feel-good hormone. So what this is making a case for is the biochemical effects that we have in our body that come from just the way we think and the way we act. And it's interesting because another study was done on volunteers. And in this group, who were followed for about 30 years, Vicki, what they found is that they generally felt an awful lot better than the group that wasn't in the volunteer group, and they also lived longer. They had 44% lower risk of dying, which is a pretty impressive figure.
Well, there was another study too that showed that the group that got the oxytocin as opposed to the one that didn't were a lot happier because they were giving more.
Yeah. So this whole idea of giving is something we should be thinking about. And really, it's the kind of giving where we're giving with no expectation. We're not giving into something because we're expected to do it. We're giving for the joy of giving and for the joy of building community.
But I think we can also give to ourselves.
That's important. I think we should be able to not just give, but also graciously receive. And that's what really love is about.
Well, I know that there are a lot of women friends that I have that if they're in the doldrums, they're not feeling good, or they had a fight with their boyfriend or their husband or their kids or whatever it was, they go out and they go shopping. Well, and that makes them feel better.
Well, that may be more of a psychological issue as a way of getting rid of stress that we have when we're frustrated. But it's not the best way to do things. But we still should be able to nourish ourselves. There's nothing wrong with us being givers, so that we're
well, and giving can mean
too.
Donating our time too, like you were mentioning about the volunteers. It's not just about money, it's about volunteering your time. And they found with these volunteers that they definitely had a better quality of life, and they even lived longer, significantly longer. What was it, 42%, 44% decrease in their mortality, and they had better self-esteem, and they felt satisfied. And you know, you're always saying that having a meaningful purpose in life is on a par with all the other healthy lifestyle factors like getting enough sleep and eating the right diet and exercising, stress reduction, and all of it.
Well, what's the point of having a perfect body and being in perfect health in all ways if you don't know why you're here? We have to have a purpose or why we're here. And really a lot of that is about living in community, giving and sharing and loving one another. What happens when we're born is we're entering into a plane where our senses are there so that we can communicate. And in a friendly universe, when we communicate, the idea should be to try and build relationships that are healthy and good for us. And if we do that, then we should be able to live in a community where we're giving and sharing and supporting one another. And it doesn't take oxytocin to do it, but if we are like that, we may get a little extra kick from the oxytocin. There's nothing wrong with that.
Do men have oxytocin?
You bet.
I think you got an extra dose of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you got a pretty good dose yourself. I mean, look at all the things you do.
Well, all the things you do an awful lot for your patients. Just ask any of them. They all
Well,
love you because you're so generous and you give them you give them your time.
well, I feel a lot better when I'm giving, just like the study shows, and I know you do too, Vicki. And that's a great thing because that's what it takes to move us from this world where we're self-centered and independent and adversarial and trying to win rather than to join and be with. We forget about the oneness. So when we're looking to try and improve our health and we're trying to make the world a better place, a good place to start is by doing a little giving.